Well, let's go. Good to see you, people. Hi, everyone. We are so happy to have you here. My name is Camila. I'm responsible for communication and marketing area at Reservas Votorantim. And we are so happy today because it's an important day for us and for all the companies that we are here together to show that partnerships can build a lot of important things. We are here today in a closest event, to discuss how these companies, Reservas Votorantim, ECCON, ACX, B3, can improve the carbon market in Brazil. And to start, I would like to invite our CEO, Davi Canassa, to open the presentations.
Hello, everybody. It's a great pleasure to stay here with you and celebrate together these incredible companies, what we are constructing along this almost, we started this project 5 years ago, okay? And in this, today we are celebrating this big construction and the Brazilian credits now we can perhaps show for all the world and helping many companies around the world to mitigate your emissions. Okay, I'm Davi Canassa and I'm CEO. I'm CEO of a company called Reservas Votorantim. Reservas Votorantim is part of a big, huge portfolio of called Votorantim in Brazil. We act in several business, how you see, and Reservas Votorantim is responsible for the business.
The cam, it's closed, I don't know why.
Reservas Votorantim is responsible for the nature-based solutions in many projects that we develop around our country in Brazil. Nowadays, we are present in 4 of the 6 biomes in Brazil. Normally, the people listen more about Amazon, but we have another very important biomes in our country. And we start our projects firstly 13 years ago in Atlantic Forest. Atlantic Forest is one of the biomes very rich in Brazil, like than Amazon. We have the same quantity of carbon and biodiversity per hectare. And I would like to show to you a short video regarding Reservas Votorantim.
Do you know the value of the forest? We have the answer. A part of a centenary business group, we are one of the largest Brazilian companies developing initiatives for the green economy, which demonstrate, through nature-based solutions, a socially and economically viable path for the protection of forest biodiversity in Brazil. We manage approximately 150,000 hectares of land and develop very sustainable businesses, including carbon credits, bioprospecting, and reforestation. We are present in the Atlantic Forest, Cerrado, and Pantanal, where, in addition to our activities, we work with communities, create local economic opportunities, and generate public knowledge about these biomes through studies and scientific research, which generate value and new business. In terms of new business, we are pioneering Cerrado carbon credits generation, where we implemented the first RED Plus project outside the Amazon biome in Brazil, and developed a methodology for payment for environmental services that generates Atlantic Forest carbon credits. We believe that it's possible to create a sustainable ecosystem by integrating business, conservation, and communities within the forest. Yes, it is possible. Reservas Votorantim believes that the solution can be found in nature.
Then we create solutions to manage territories, in carbon projects, in ecological restoration, in diagnostics, environmental diagnostics, and geoprocessing. We are thinking about solutions around our biomas in Brazil in these items. And we understand 13 years ago that we need many solutions to provide the solution for the forest, because carbon is part of solution. Carbon could help us to maintain the forest, but we need more business inside the forest to create money to conserve the forest. With this idea, we developed this system, the multiple use of the land. In each territory that we are developing our projects, we construct several different opportunities and implement these opportunities along the time with the communities, with partners, and bringing resources for the conservation of the area. Then we divided this idea in three principal topics: land management, carbon, and biodiversity initiatives. With this, we construct a system that is possible to maintain any forest, not only in Brazil, but we believe around the world. Nowadays, we manage three specific areas. Legado das Águas, our first area in São Paulo, 31,000 hectares. Legado Verde do Cerrado in the center of our country, with 32 hectares, combining conservation and the integration with agriculture too. And Fazenda Bodoquena in Pantanal, or wetlands in Brazil. Inside each of these territories, we develop biodiversity centers, many projects of ecological restoration around these territories, and some opportunities with biotech. And about the theme of today, I'll present in our video, we are pioneer in carbon markets in several ways. We developed the first project with ECCON in Cerrado, outside Amazon. The first outside Amazon project of this in this case. And together we developed a new methodology that we present today to you about payment of ecosystem service, a new modality of that can bring for us many opportunities linked biodiversity with conservation and carbon credits. Together, we developed these 5 projects, and we are ready to increase more. This is my part. I pass for the other panelists, but first, in the program, Cristina Reis, the part of the Minister of Economy in Brazil, stay in the program, but unfortunately, she has it was called for a meeting with the minister now, but she sent to us a message that I pass now.
I am Cristina Reis, Undersecretary for Sustainable Economic Development at the Ministry of Finance. It's late already, but unfortunately I cannot be with you in this event on Wednesday morning, but I just wanted to say that we are really progressing on the implementation of the Brazilian ETS. We are about to launch a secretariat for the compliance carbon markets, which will have to establish the MAV standards to accredit methodologies from the voluntary carbon markets and the registering system, besides other activities. It's a huge task that we are going to do collectively because the governance of the Brazilian ETS also has the participation of civil society at the technical committee and at the chamber of regulated compliance entities. I wish you all a great debate today, and please count on the Brazilian federal government that is really committed to foster the carbon markets agenda, both in compliance and voluntary terms, because we know that offsets are allowed, and we are actually now at the Climate Week fostering a open coalition for carbon markets to harmonize MRV standards, monitoring, reporting, and verification standards, together with carbon accounting and offset usage. This is a great agenda that will allow to create more jobs and to increase income to the peoples in the territory and to large-scale industrial and energy projects. Come with us in this agenda. We really count on you. Thank you very much for all the efforts that the civil society is doing.
That's it. And now I invite Yuri, please.
Thank you, Davi. Thank you, Camila. Thank you, Reservas Votorantim. Thank you all for being here. So it's a pleasure to be here with you. It took a while for us to develop this idea, right, Davi? We had a lot of difficulties on discussing technical aspects, scientific aspects, trying to understand the demand on this kind of project, trying to understand the difficulties of, negotiating carbon projects, the investors, what is happening in Brazil, what's happening in other countries. So for us, it's so good to be here year after year and see that what you're doing, what you're discussing makes sense, and we have more partners and we have more people to hear. So yeah, thank you for being here. I'm the CEO of ECCON. What should I do here? Yeah. So we are a Brazilian company. We were ranked Thank you. We were ranked this year as one of the best environmental consulting firms in Brazil. We were also recognized by the University of São Paulo as one innovation company. We are part of the UN Global Compact, and we are associated with the Brazilian Coalition on Climate, Forest, and Agriculture. And being part of all these ideas and initiatives and having companies as Reservas Votorantim, B3, ACX, UI, as partners in this partnership is very important for us to come here to the US and to go to the other countries, as the countries where the COPs are developed, to show what's going on in Brazil and what solutions we have. So this is our experience in Brazil. When we go to some of these places, we can hear from the people on the ground what they are thinking about, environmental issues, social issues, economic issues, if they need energy, if they need food, if they need services, if they need money. And the situation is pretty much different in these parts of Brazil. So we are based in São Paulo. So São Paulo have these issues and the thoughts. But when you go to Goiás or to the Amazon area or to the south or to the northeast, the situation is different. And when we go to other countries in the world, the situation again is different. But on climate change, the situation is pretty much the same. We have difficulties on food. We have, heat. We have, sometimes it's cold. We don't see rain. Sometimes we should see snow. We don't see that. So this kind of discussion, this kind of solution is very important to all of the world and the country. So this is ECCON. This is our experience. I would like to invite Marcelo to present our ideas on the methodologies. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, cool. Thank you. Good morning. Thanks for being here on a Wednesday. We've been here for over a week, so tough. And there are many events happening. I know of at least 3 or 4, which I would like to be, as well as being here. And I'm glad that you all are here. So first of all, thank you for that. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the journey of what we've done. And I wanted to bring some context. Tropical forests, and Wayne won't let me lie here, Wayne from Woodwell Climate Research Center, hold a great deal of carbon stock. I think we all know that. They hold a great deal of biodiversity, habitats, and probably someone said yesterday in an event, you could be stepping, if you're in the Amazon, you could be stepping on the cure for cancer or the cure for diseases we don't even know. If we look at Brazil, it has more than 10%, around 12% of the share of global forests. And while you might see that Russia is kind of in the same color, it's the only other country that has more than 10% forests, those are not tropical forests. So the biodiversity is much different. And so Brazil poses itself as a very, very unique place because it is huge. It's bigger than the continental US, yes, without Alaska. And it holds about 65% of the territory under native vegetation. At the same time, it only uses about 7 or 8% of the territory as agricultural land. Not all of it is well utilized, but a good part of it that is utilized produces 2 or 3 crops per year. And that's something that's not very common if you're not from Brazil, where you have one crop. When you harvest that crop, you're planting something else. And when you harvest that, you have some cattle feeding on the grasses that you planted with the second crop. That's very unique to Brazil. And another thing that we have are pastures. About 15% of our territory, 15 to 20% of our territory are pasture land. And a good portion of that is underutilized. So why did I bring 3 maps other than I love maps? Is that Brazil is in a unique position that 30 or 40 years ago, we used to import food. And we're actually the second world's largest exporter of agricultural goods. And we've been recognized for that. We produce soy, we produce corn, we produce beef, we produce orange juice, we produce coffee and cocoa. And that's all increasing. But we also produce a lot of forests. We have, as I said, almost 2/3 of the territory as forests. And that's something that hasn't been recognized by the world. So I'd like to play that if you're eating farmed salmon in Norway, they're probably eating soybeans from Brazil. If you got some Wagyu steak that was grown somewhere in Hokkaido Island in Japan, they're also eating soybeans from Brazil. And so we need to harvest carbon credits from the forest. We need, as society, to recognize the role of environmental services that we have in Brazil. And that's what this methodology is all about. We'll be here after the event to show more details of the methodology. I won't bore you with equations, even though there's just one. But we do consider a suite of environmental services, about 11 of them in the methodology, and what we generate are carbon credits. And these credits are what we're going to be showcasing today. We can talk more about the methodology. But one thing, when we're talking about carbon credits, the first question that people ask is, why are you doing this? And when ECCON also develops carbon projects with Vera and other standards, and we assist other companies in doing due diligence or fixing up problems in other projects. But the methodologies that are well known for carbon, for RED, for instance, do not recognize our context. It's hard, and I think we have quite a few non-Brazilians here. If you buy a chunk of land in Brazil, and I'm going to use this computer as this chunk of land, if you're in the Amazon, 4/5 of it has to be kept under native vegetation. And the landowner, the private landowner, has to be a steward of these 80% forest. If you're in the Cerrado, you can actually clear 80% and you need to keep 20. But they're stewards of these areas. And these areas are bringing rain, which allow for agriculture to thrive in Brazil and to help food security. That's not recognized in international methodologies. So the local context really does matter. And that's why we have a Brazilian methodology that looks at ecosystem and environmental services. The carbon stock is what we value. We understand that biodiversity and other services have very important tasks, and we've heard a lot about biodiversity credits. But if we wait for that to mature, we're going to be very, very late in the game. So carbon credits are a way to go. And carbon credits don't necessarily need to be linked to deforestation. Because if you're in the middle of the Amazon, where there is no deforestation pressure, you still have ecosystem services being provided by the land. You still have environmental services, and you have someone taking care of that land so it's not poached, so that you don't have invasions, so that you don't have deforestation in the future. But at the end of the day, that's providing the water that we're drinking in São Paulo or the food that we're eating around the world. So what we do, and answering the question of additionality, and that's kind of the two last slides that I'll talk about, is that if we as human beings are able to achieve the Paris goals, does anyone think we will be able to achieve the Paris goals? Hands up. Okay, good. That means we're only going to lose 5% of biomass in tropical forests until the end of the century. If we look at the climate trajectory that we have today, we're actually going to RCP 8.5 or more than that, and we're going to lose between 17 and 25% of forests, natural forests. And that's not Marcelo going there with a chainsaw. That's climate change effects. That means longer droughts, too much rain at once, winds, and changes in pests and disease. So what we understand in the methodology is that if we can engage society, private partners, such as Reservas Votorantim, public partners, in putting projects in place and having infrastructure with B3 and ACX to trade these carbon credits, we can get these credits to remunerate conservation and help us bridge this gap, because we want to move this purple line or this red line to the green line at least. And that's only going to be possible if we have the people that are land stewards engaged in the game. So thank you very much about that. This is Carbon Floor, the methodology that we have developed with Reservas Votorantim on areas focused on conservation. And last year we talked about developing a methodology that looks at perennial crops, which we'll be talking about tomorrow at 9 a.m. here. Please come to see a bit more about that. Yuri said this and Davi said this, and I just wanted to show you the trajectory. We haven't started talking about this yesterday. The first time we were here was in 2023, where we launched the first credits of this methodology. The second ones are going to be shown today, where we have infrastructure in place that we developed the project, ECCON, using Reservas Votorantim's land. We have a third-party audit looking at the credits. They're going to be traded on ACX and registered. The credits are registered in Brazil Stock Exchange B3. And this has only been possible with a bunch of partners that have helped us in this whole journey. So thank you very much. And I'll lead on to.
Thank you, Marcelo. It was great.
Thank you.
From you. Every time I hear Marcelo, I'm flabbergasted because it impresses me so much. And I think we are on the right way. Hello, everyone. My name is Ana Buchain. I'm the Executive Vice President for B3, the Brazilian Stock Exchange. Nowadays, I take care of a bunch of areas that concerns people, marketing, communication, sustainability, social investment, pretty much everything that touch bases with our stakeholders. Hopefully, I know that you know a lot about carbon markets. Let me just hope that you don't know so much about financial market infrastructure, so I won't bore you to death with my speech today. So what's our agenda here today? I'm going to go through like 4 blocks of information just to make sure we understand the impact of having those credits registered and traded at B3. So we're going to talk about what is the marketing structure, what is B3 in this whole scenario. Let's move to the carbon markets, the role that we are playing in the carbon markets, and the platform that we're designed and we are playing and working on, and the future challenges that we're going to face in the next year. Please make sure you interrupt me whenever you feel like it. It's going to be way better if we exchange ideas in the middle of this conversation. So first of all, when we look at B3 as a stock exchange, we play a very different role from what regular exchanges have here in the US, for instance, because we have like a vertical model. What we do at B3 and in Brazil, we do register, depository, trading itself, settlement, and we also have a central counterparty within our infrastructure. What does it mean? It's like the buyer and the seller, they have rights and we protect these rights. And what is so important and unique about our infrastructure is that we provide the whole system. And we have like in Brazil, we have one of the most advanced financial systems in the whole world. And B3 is the 6th largest exchange that plays in this field. That's very, very important. So this is like one single infrastructure which provides liquidity to the markets. And I want you to pin this information, and then we're going to go back again. Whenever we're talking about trading, it's very important for you to have liquidity pools, especially when you're talking in markets that have to go to get more mature along the way. If you make a small comparison between the American market and the Brazilian market, there's like a huge gap. Probably because 95% of the American citizens have their savings applied into the exchange. In comparison, Brazilians only have like 2% of the Brazilians have their savings into the exchange. So they are like way different markets. The American market's like 100 times larger than the Brazilian one. And why am I emphasizing this kind of thing? Again, because of the liquidity pools. Whenever you're playing a role like this and you're fostering a market, it's very important for you to have few players that will do the whole thing, the registry, the deposit of the assets, the trading, the settlement, and also be a central counterparty. B3 is a public traded company, so you can buy our shares if you want. Very good shares, actually. I'm biased, but you know what? It's very, very good. And we have 86% of our investors who are foreigners, so you're not going to be alone. As I mentioned before, we have like 5 million equity investors in the like retail side of it, but most of our investors are institutional investors, which give us power and bargaining power as well. We have over 20 million people who invest in fixed income. Brazil is also very recognized about fixed income and fixed trading, more than the equity side of it. And we have a very strong platform. And I emphasize that again, because when we're talking about 99.97% of availability of trading systems, this is what we're going to provide to carbon markets as well. And I'm going to move along in the presentation, but I just want you to make sure that whatever you're doing, we have a very important role playing in these different fields, registry, deposit, trading, clearing, and settlement. And we play as an exchange, but also as an OTC. An OTC is just a very fancy name for you to have bilateral agreements, which are, again, registered and confirmed and secured by our platforms. We are also regulated by the Brazilian SEC, who is called CVM, and by the Brazilian Central Bank. So we have like a very strong regulatory framework to follow through. And what this brings to the table is security, and reduced systemic risk. And again, I'm going to go back to the central counterparty. Risk is probably one of our main assets because we manage risk like no one else. Having the Brazilian Stock Exchange in the middle of the financial systems give the Brazilian financial markets actually a resilience because we are all the times looking for systemic risks. Our risk area is so robust that we can predict crisis like concerning like in a window of 40 years or so. So like we have a very strong team that takes care of systemic risks, and we are super proud of that. And when you have some kind of infrastructure behind the trading, what do you have? You have protection to investors. And when we look at ourselves as investors, what are we looking for? We're looking at transparency. We're looking at fair prices. We're looking for delivery of assets. We want to have this kind of background that supports our trading. And this is what you have when you are trading in an exchange like B3. So our role as a financial market structure is to ensure that markets are fair. You're paying a fair price for assets. You're actually paying for an asset that exists. You have efficient markets. You have better price formation. And this, again, is basic statistics. The more assets you have traded in one place, the easier it is to get the right price for it. So price formation, again, a fancy name for just you to find the right price for the asset. And when you have the right price, you have the right buyers and you have the right sellers. And this is pretty much what we do. We have transparent, efficient, and resilient markets in our traditional infrastructure. So moving on to the carbon markets, where do we see our role? I mentioned to you that I take care of a bunch of areas, and we see our role when we look to the society as like a two-part role. We are part and we are bridge between the worlds, because as a public traded company, I'm part of the solution and I'm part of the problem that we all face right now in our markets and in the environmental side of it and the society part of it. But also we play a very important role being one of the single market infrastructures in Brazil that guide and leads other companies in a better sustainable way. So when we look at carbon markets in our strategy, we decided that we wanted to play an active role into the carbon markets, and we want to be the infrastructure to have all these markets traded and conducted within our services. So we're doing the same thing that we did for traditional markets. Let's shift to carbon markets as well. Hope I'm not boring you so much with financial market issues, but it's just for you to understand that you have to have safety in order to trade, okay? And this is a pretty straight up concept. So we're building a very robust and resilient infrastructure for carbon markets as well. And we are looking at three main things. First of all, the credits registry. Why is it important to have it registered? Because you have control of ownership. You have information. Where does this credit came for? Where's the geolocation of it? Who was the developer? Who was the producer? And you have the whole stream life of the carbon designed and registered. So we know everything from the day that the carbon credit was designed until its retirement. So you recognize the emissions, the transactions, and the retirement of these carbon credits. This is super important for us to have this information. Again, the more information we have on the credits, we can move to trading. And specifically what we're interested in is scaling the trading of the carbon credits. Because the more information I have, the more tradings I have, again, the better the price formation is going to be, as we went through. The better, the more information you have, and the more comfort you're going to be able to provide for the buyer. And when you have buyer, you have sellers, and you reduce the risks of developing those carbon projects, as David is doing so well, right, David? So we want to be the trading platform together with ACX, and we are doing we started doing that. Right, Carlos?
Yeah.
Last year, we're doing fine, and we still have like very aggressive goals. True. So there's no such thing, right?
Unachievable goals.
I know. Come on. Come on.
Lots of pressure on us. Yeah. Ambitious. Very ambitious. Good.
Very
Yeah,
ambitious. Exactly, and we're gonna get there. And Joanne, we have projects registry that this is the one that we've done with Reservas Votorantim and PSA Carbon 4. That's it's very close to the heart because we're controlling and tracking this carbon projects, and of course we're gonna trade it as well. So I'm gonna give you a glimpse on the registry platform. I'm not expecting you to read everything, but if you will, please, by all means, come here to the front. But what we did was, it's a pilot that we did with Reservas Votorantim and ECCON with VSA Carbon 4 and also with ACX, where we are like registering everything, every credit generated, again, from its birth to its retirement and also the trading. So the information that we have here, that's unlikely the regular assets that we trade, we had to customize the platform because here you have to understand the details of the projects that we didn't have in regular assets, such as geographic location, as I mentioned before. So it's a different thing for us. So it took us a while to be very, to have like this information really well detailed in order to provide security for the investors.
And then it's good to talk about the geographic localization because we're not talking about a point. You are talking about a shape. You can see the shape of the project, different of the other platforms that you see a point.
Exactly. You have the polygon, right? Am I speaking the right term? You have the polygon
Yes.
of it. Yeah. Okay, so you see, I did my job, Marcelo. So you have the polygon of it. So you have the latitude, the longitude, and also you have the CAR as well, all the information that you have to have in order to have safety, in order to trade these carbon credits. So it was like a very special project for us because hopefully this is like one of many that we're going to have in the platforms. And of course, this one is going to be the dearest for us. And then, of course, you have the registry of the project, but you also have the issuance of the credits. Here at this moment, the pilot has PSA Carbon 4 that were developed by Reservas Votorantim and ECCON. And then you have the carbon credits registry. And after the issuance, these credits are going to be registered and controlled by B3 as well, which will provide security for the whole systems. So far, what we have like a few results that I would like to share with you. So last year we traded 3.3 million tons of CO2 with ACX, and therefore the aggressive goals that I was telling Carlos that we have.
It's double this year, so.
Yeah. You know, when you reach a goal, you double it. We all know that. We all know that. And actually, we do have in our registry 3 million carbon credits until the end of 2025. And in this project, especially the one with the carbon 4, we have 120K credits issued and registered in 2025. Actually, we already have a goal to 2026, and we're going to reach it. And I think that's very important to mention. It's unfortunate that Christina is not going to be able to join us, but actually, we do believe that the voluntary market will benefit from the compliance market. So we are eager to see how the Brazilian ETS is going to develop. And hopefully we are going to be, again, the platform to sustain and to be the one who's going to make viable the Brazilian credit systems. And we are ready for this ACX, and we are, because we do have the infrastructure to do that. And again, the more concentrated this market is at first, in the beginning, the better it is, because you can provide the liquidity pool that's so important for markets to develop. So we are eager to see the methodology being approved, the Brazilian ETS being improved, and we are eager to serve. Our commitment to the carbon market is undeniable. We are committed to have a sustainable future. You can count on us to whatever we have to do. And actually, this is our role. we see ourselves playing a role for the society and of course for the markets, and you can count on us, whatever. So thank you so much, and I'll pass along to Carlos, right?
Me?
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Anna. Oh, all right. Can show us. Thank you. So, please, thank you, Anna, very much. Because I was a little unsure about what to say. I don't want to repeat myself, but I've been saying the same for many years now. What we're doing here is a landmark, not a deal, but a landmark effort going forward. If we fail, nobody's going to remember us anyway. But if we succeed, everybody will look back and say that we're creating the first standard developed by Brazilians, implemented in Brazil with Brazilian buyers. I've been very critical of the standards that decide the methodology that will be applicable to Brazil, whereas the governance of such methodologies, the governance is located outside of Brazil. Couple of years ago, the two largest standards for the voluntary market decided that carbon offsets from energy were no longer acceptable. And I resented that because we had not only clients, but players that have invested a lot of money and time to develop projects that at the end of the day were reducing emissions. And again, governance outside of Brazil meant that we locals never had a say on that. And I believe that we're now showing the world and some of our colleagues in Brazil that were skeptical of our move. We're showing that it is possible for Brazil to have our own standards that are robust, backed by players such as one of the largest, if not the largest conglomerate of Brazil, buyers of international presence, and the brains of my colleagues and friends and partners. How do you say your name in English?
ECCON.
No, your name.
My name,
Yeah,
Yuri.
Yuli. No, Yuri. I was going to say Marcelo.
Okay.
But anyway, the story is, I wanted to stress the fact that after many years of their efforts, but ourselves as well, promoting the idea of backing a national standard, we finally have the infrastructure developed by B3 that allows us to deliver the credits to the capital markets of Brazil, alongside potentially a framework that will be communicating in the short run with the local trading scheme, the SBC, which is shaping up, and I believe is going to happen within a short period of time. The market anticipates the regulation. Once we see that the regulation is going to happen, the financial markets will anticipate that. So we hear a lot about 5 years of the local trading scheme to be operational. I believe it's perhaps 2 years, because I see that some of our partners, investors, will be willing to take the risk of a when and if carbon offset. When and if issued, I can buy it now. So again, together with B3, and I don't want to forget to mention my colleagues, Leonardo, Natalia, Gabriel, back in Brazil. Without B3, we wouldn't have the registry that is accepted by the capital markets of Brazil. CVM, the SEC of Brazil, published a regulation for investment funds October 23, and that allows for investment funds to purchase carbon offsets with a set of rules. We've been using that to bring investment funds to the platform, and it's only possible because we can register the assets with B3 and use ACX's marketplace. It is about innovation, and I don't see that being promoted by the regulators in Brazil. I think we can speak up to that. I've been losing money with carbon offsets for 25 years now. There's no regulatory framework anywhere in the world that treats offsets as a security that can be traded by regulated investors such as the one in Brazil. So very likely, again, in the very short run, we'll be able to deliver financial instruments that will replicate the projects that Davi is developing in Brazil. Another landmark announcement, as of yesterday, ACX has a new functionality within the marketplace that allows for a forward sale of carbon offsets. That means that in in a very short period of time, once that becomes operational, fully operational in Brazil, a project will be able to sell forward, say, 10 years of carbon revenues and use B3's registry to issue debt backed by the forward sale. That is within the framework that we put together. Tom, our CEO, is here. He can talk a little bit more about that when we finish. But again, and I wanted to pass the ball on to Lourdes, our managing director. But again, it is about innovation, and it's about Brazil taking the lead of something that is so dear to us. Countries don't have friends. Countries have interests. Brazil has to lead when it makes sense to us. And I believe that we're starting to address that with the efforts put together by our companies. I don't know if I have to say something else, but I wanted to pass the ball on. I've done enough, but Lourdes is going to show the platform working. We decided not to do it live because of many reasons, but I believe that's it, right? I don't know if I missed anything. So let's hope that the video works.
Yeah.
Yes, so that you're gonna see the transaction going on. Thank you, Lourdes.
I need to.
Are you sure? Because
Another one. Oh, okay.
you can talk. I'll stay here.
I'll play that. Maybe I can.
No, thank you.
Is there something that I can use to point?
Acho que melhor não usar essa não.
No. No.
Usa ali.
Okay, so I'm gonna just use my finger to show you. First of all, thank you all for being here. My name is Lourdes. It's a pleasure to be here sharing this panel with my colleagues here. As Carlos has mentioned, we're very thrilled with all the innovation that ACX is trying to bring to our country. Our main idea is to use technology to assist a better integration between all those markets that we were talking about here, right? So nowadays we have voluntary markets, we have several jurisdictions enacting their own compliance markets. And what ACX does is to try to navigate through all those different frameworks and really provide a simple solution that puts buyers in front of sellers, and that makes possible for parties to really engage directly in negotiations without having to do all those long due diligence proceedings that are usually required, when we are talking about bilateral agreements. So our idea is to try to really be more efficient, cost effective, and to bring it to reach a safer environment where, as Anna has mentioned earlier, we're all talking about trust, right? We all have to trust that we will be able to reach the 1.5 degrees, and that we as a society are going to be able to facilitate those transactions. And of course, with a safe environment, with transparency, with all sorts of warranties that we have to have in place to enable that to happen. What I'm going to try to show to you is how those negotiations happen, right? I'm going to just jump here to our videos to be able to show to you. So the first stage that we have in our marketplace is the onboarding stage of companies. Companies that onboard with us, they're always able to act as sellers or buyers, depending on the situation, on the specific case. And once they are onboarded, they have access to our market board, which is this screen here that I'm showing, where all credits are listed and all bids are also listed. So you can see here different types of projects, and we can filter those projects. I'm going to show you what is the first step for a seller that enters into our system to list their projects with us and to be able to put the price on its credits and to really manage this proposal. Let me see if the video runs. Okay, so he's going to add an offer here. He's going to select project, the vintage, then he's going to add the amount of credits that he wants to sell and the price he wants to put. And the system already calculates all the fees, and in one click, the project is shown here. It's a very simple and straightforward. As you saw, it took like less than 1 minute for this to happen, right? So he confirms, and the project is then listed in our market board. After that, we have a buyer who is accessing our environment. He's able to see all the offers that are already listed there. And then, well, he gets interested in one project and decides to put a bid in this project. So he engages in a bidding system where he clicks in the bid, and then he can maybe list here the 3 credits, the vintage that he wants to choose, the type of credit that he wants to bid, and then he inserts the amount. It's all very simple and straightforward, as you can see. And then in one click, the bid is shown in our market, right? He can always change this. He can classify the project in that criteria to this project. He can exclude these criteria. He can add specific countries and so forth.
And you see, make it clear, it's registered with B3. It is PSA carbon floors. We're talking about the credits that are being offered now, developed by Reservas.
Yeah.
So it is operational. I actually forgot to mention there's another buyer that is international buyer using the platform to purchase a smaller volume, but someone that is not connected to us as far as businesses, but very important that foreigner is buying the credits.
Yeah. So next stage where parties engage in direct negotiations, right? So we have here a buyer using a specific filter that we are using here, of course, PSA carbon floor, and then placing a bid in one offer that is shown in the market board. As you see, it's also super quick. He can click in the registry, he can specify the methodology that he wants, and then he's able to choose the Legado das Águas project. And then he's able to put a bid in this, for instance, in these credits. He sets up the amount he wants to buy, the price he wants to pay. The system already calculates our fees, etc. And then he confirms the offer. And then his proposal is already immediately registered within his responses, and he's able to manage his proposal directed there. And then at the same time, seller will be able to view this offer and to engage in direct negotiations with buyers regarding the price and the amount of credits. So if he's able to make a counter offer here, and say, for instance, that he wants to propose a different price, and then the price is received here. And he's also able, of course, to change his proposal, to change his price, the initial price that he has inserted here, and place a counter offer to the buyer, right? And he's also able to accept directly here the counter offer that has been placed. And after he accepts this offer, we turn into the second stage of the settlement, where we ACX handles and implements the settlement, the financial settlement of these transactions, right? It's a fairly quick system. Our time frame is between 2 to 5 business days to be able to make the payments regarding the credits. So it's quite fast in relation to the bilateral negotiations that we were talking about. So on my side, that was it. We are here in case you have any questions, and we'd be glad to discuss the issue further. Okay. Not sure who I need to pass it to you. Okay.
Well, guys, today we saw 5 years of development happen in some minutes. Okay. We invite you to understand better all this process. Okay. But all these things only is possible if you have buyers. And I'm so lucky because I have friends, not only buyers, that I consider first movers. And I would like to invite Ricardo of UI. When I presented this idea for this guy, they told me, I'm in. Ricardo.
Thank you, David. Thank you all. I'm really impressed with everything that I saw this morning. And I'm here, of course, as a buyer, but because I'm really concerned about all this problem. Marcelo, really impressed with your presentation, and we cannot forget that we are facing one of the largest problems of humanity without solution. So the risks are huge. And we as a professional service company, we are riding in the core of everything that is happening globally with governments, with companies, the risks, the size of the risks, the financial impact of the climate change. So this is such an important issue. As probably you know, EY Davi is a global scale firm with more than 400,000 employees, present in more than 150 countries. And we are investing a lot to understand what kind of solutions we need today, but not only today, the solutions that we will need for the next decade. We are part of a significant deals of carbon globally, with buyers on one side and sellers on the other side. But of course, we have our own goals on carbon. That's why we decided to invest, as Davi mentioned, in this platform as a first mover. We neutralize our emissions for many, many years. We, among all the professional services, we are the one that offset around 95% of all the emissions. And our emissions came basically from travel. We don't have a plant. We don't produce steel or mining, but we help them decarbonize. So thank you again. Congratulations. This is an amazing project. And Davi said that when he presented me this platform, I said yes. And I did the opposite too. I presented him a project in Berlin. I said last year in Climate Week, Davi, let's build a business village in Berlin. And he looked at me, yes. So that's it. And we are going to use these credits, Davi, to neutralize, to offset the emissions from the UI house in Berlin. It's a unique project, 3,000 square meters village to host high-level events, discussions, and understand what are the pains of the market from the financial sector to the mining sector, all the hard-to-abate sectors, including agribusiness, of course, and understand how to reshape solutions for the next 10 years. And I'm pretty sure that solutions like this one for carbon markets are essentially, and probably this is one and maybe a seed that we are going to see grow. And I hope next year, Climate Week, Davi, see how this platform has grown and maybe to have another event. Yes, yes. And I made a promise to Ana, to Davi, depending on the size of the event, you can use our office here and we can accommodate almost 400 people there. So thank you very much, Davi, and everybody.
Thank you.
And now, if you would like to make some questions for us, we are ready.
I do have one for Ana. Hi. I'm Enrique from Carbon. It's clear that B3 has this goal of scaling from an investment perspective. So I just want to hear your view, or maybe your panelist's view, on the risk profile of that asset, and how do you imagine that, like, regular people who invest, if that's the idea? I see they're working between corporates, on the corporates. But if the idea is to also scale this as a asset class for anyone in the country or outside the country, how do you see, like, regulations and regulatory requirements to make the risk profile of this asset transparent and make sure that this can work not only transparently, but also based on, data and information for a good decision?
Probably something that we have to work together, right?
Yeah, just curious to hear.
Yeah, I think that's very important what you were saying. I think that at first we're going to see the investors, like the institutional investors, trading carbon until it got more mature, and then we can go to retail investors. But I think that we have a long way to go. But I wish we can all get there together. But I do believe that we have to provide information and transparency. What credits are those? What kind of assets? What kind of risks are you taking whenever you buy this kind of asset? But well, I don't think, unfortunately, is one thing for now, that we have discussed for now, because we have a long way to go, in the regulatory perspective. But probably we should work together.
Yes, that's it.
So you're part of the team now.
Yeah, you should be part of the team, Henrique. And I think that if you're a regular person and you try to buy a carbon credit from Vera or GCC or Gold Standard, it's very, very, very hard, right? So that's why we're spending money on due diligences and complex instruments and processes to move these markets. So I think it starts easier and simple at B3 and has this potential, to be an asset to be bought by regular person or investors. They will choose, the B3 stock or, the carbon PSC carbon floor project. So I think that may be a goal, and it starts easier than the others.
Like, do you guys see that ratings would be a solution? Maybe not the cheapest solution, but the short-term fast solution? Or not? How are you guys seeing this all rating markets and companies evaluating projects?
I think we have to establish clear criteria in order to decide and to design the ratings. This is one thing that we commonly see in the indexes as well.
Yeah.
So just making a quick comparison between ESG indexes and maybe ratings. You have different frameworks and different approaches. And the same thing with certification. As you mentioned, the Gold Standard and primeira, they have like different perspectives. And so it depends on what you're trading. So ratings, I think that they are super specific and very interesting to discuss about. But again, we have to decide what we are going to emphasize when we are looking to carbon credits, especially for the retail trading. Again, unfortunately, I think that there's a long way to go.
Someone else?
I don't think I like the idea of ratings. Henrique knows everything. Come on. It's been
No.
the business
No, but-
for 20 years.
Yeah.
But I understand that the idea of ratings for retail, that makes sense. But if we want fungibility, if we want a large market, we want one commodity called carbon offset, right? So the moment you give rating companies the power to decide whether or not a project is good, all of a sudden you're creating it's a gatekeeper that has too much leverage on a market that we believe should mean 1 ton of CO2 removed from the atmosphere. And many years ago, we could perhaps claim that there wasn't enough evidence of such framework, but the largest and more successful trading scheme in the world, European trading scheme, 1 ton of carbon is 1 ton of carbon. There's no rating agency telling the steel manufacturer in Düsseldorf whether or not it's a good credit. So I don't think I like the idea. I mean, it's just I only have an opinion, but there is some evidence that shows that European trading scheme has been successful because fungibility. And I also believe that I defend that when it comes to Brazil. So that's why I'm again resentful of the fact that a governance of the standards are outside of Brazil today. And I don't think the country has to give away the power to decide what is a credit, what is an offset in Brazil, starting the voluntary market, but looking forward to the regulated market. Just to finish, I mean, I've been in the business for many years. Kyoto had something that was good for us, project developers, and your company has also benefited from that. Philippe is also there. One of the oldest, if not the most successful company that was able to migrate into developing a platform to do carbon accounting. Back early 2000, if anything went wrong with a project developed under the framework of the Kyoto Protocol, you could just tell the buyer or the NGO to complain to the United Nations because there was a regulator saying, these are the rules. And that's what I'm missing now for us as project developers as well, because you cannot, you're always exposed to some opinion in the garden saying the project is no good. So I miss that. And again, I understand the beauty of having crediting rating agencies for retail, because you want to know if it's a storytelling component, you want to know what you buy. That's one thing. But if you're looking at a broader market, you want fungibility and you want the standard to claim 1 ton of CO2 is 1 ton of CO2, right?
And thank you very much for opinion. Just because large corporate buyers, they're just like now paranoid, I would say. They
Yeah, yeah. What is the
probably the biggest
incentive?
required nowadays to buy anything.
If it's a voluntary market, what is the incentive for anybody to buy something and then show up at the cover of the garden? Being part of a scheme that, frankly, you just woke up one day and the head of sustainability told you to buy an asset, really. So, and that's no good for the market. It's no good for what I believe in. Nobel Prize 2016 sort of proved that markets are more efficient manner to address climate change as opposed to taxation. So it's no good for the market.
Sorry. First.
Hi. Good morning to all. My name is Gabriel William from the Brazilian Forest Service. Maybe I'm the only representative from the government on the table. So thank you so much for the invitation. I'm really glad to be here and hear all the conversations and the efforts to bring Brazilian standards, Brazilian certification procedures in terms of how to keep forests standing and also bring the value of the forest that's there. So it's something that's really, really important. Just a bit of propaganda, probably some of you have heard, in the Brazilian Forest Code, there's an instrument that's called the Environmental Reserve Quotes, that's CRA, the acronym in Portuguese, and we're about to launch the first issues of these credits as well. So there's a lot of synergies from what you're doing in terms of generating the structure, generating the confirmation of the assets and the environmental service that are being generated with the instrument that we have as a mandatory by law in the Brazilian legislation. So I was just wondering if you foresee some connections in terms of, and how do you see the role of the government, since we have talked about Brazilian ETS and the role of the Minister of Finance in terms of regulating the trading, but also in terms of generating the assets. So how can you find the synergies between what is we're talking about same things, that's the forest, it's the natural vegetation that is still there standing, generating carbon, generating water service, generating biodiversity. So how do you foresee, maybe for two of you and David, the connections between the mandatory instrument that you have in forest code that you also fulfill with in terms of the implementation of the agenda that you have with the opportunities in the market? So how can we try to bridge that together, because there is a huge potential of generation of these credits under the mandatory and the regulated market for environmental offsets in the Brazilian Forest Code. So if you somehow can elaborate that, and we had the chance to discuss further afterward, I think there's a lot of synergies to discuss. Thank you.
Well, Reservas Votorantim believes that it's possible integrated all the initiatives together. I show you the idea of multiple land use. Okay, we are using some aspects of our code in Brazil to create opportunities inside our reserves. Okay, with other instruments, because we didn't have CRA yet. Okay, but you are using the servidão. In this case, it's similar. Okay, we have the same effect, and of course, when it's very interesting, because when you think the aspects regarding the law, in legal reserve, for instance, that's the case. Of course, we need to have all the aspects of legal reserve in all the official documents, okay? But our thesis is if this guy, this owner, managed very well the area, you know this, you can maintain your reserve in one way or in other way, okay? In this case, we can have the both instruments, the CRA and the carbon markets in the same hectare, okay? And when we develop a carbon project inside this hectare, the owner, if this guy manage in the right way the area, along the years, they increase the level of the credits. That benefits the legal reserve too. Then I believe that these both instruments could working together, and of course, we don't discuss this, but could be a flag, for instance, in the platform of B3, that if you have some kind of these things together.
Maybe, no, definitely. I think that in complement to what you were saying, that the most important side of it, in order to have a market, you have to decide which kind of assets are you talking about. Is it a financial asset or a security asset, for instance? So when we decided to trade something, the most important part of it is what are we trading? And we've seen that before. Maybe NPP can join me in this one real well as well. But we've seen that already when we're talking about the payment for environmental services, whether you don't know which kind of assets you're trading, if you're trading a security asset or financial assets. So it starts from there with the regulatory decision of which kind of asset. But everything is possible. We can flag in our systems, we can do registry, we can do trading, we can do pretty much everything because all the financial life of institutions and Brazilians go through our exchange. So it's in our best interest to have it more accessible for people, to have more transparency in the assets. So it's not hard to do, and actually something that we are looking for to do. So we can talk later as well.
I think that Marcelo would like to
From a technical perspective, one of the indicators that we have there is native vegetation cover beyond the law as well. So if you're engaged in the project and you follow the forest code, you have 1 score. And if you have excess surplus, you'll have a better score. So you would generate more credits. And I think that's something we work together about and see how we can make that work.
And now?
Well, thank you for this. I'm Soma from Mexico. Thank you. 2 questions, maybe on the same note of this whole conversation. You know, we all FMCGs are afraid of buying credits. And actually, we have a policy not to buy it. And there's a reason for that. The reason is trust. And lack of transparency and double counting and all the problems we all know. How is this different? If you are to convince me to buy as a company, you can jump in regardless, since you are the one securing.
No, you're not securing.
No, he's just a buyer.
I'm just a buyer too.
One, and how we're evolving, you know, to build all the capabilities, to bring those additional requirements for us to come in and be part of this.
Perfect. Marcelo, you want to start?
Well, I would say from one perspective, the red credits back in the days had issues with tweaking the methodology for generating more credits. And we've seen this at ECCON. You get 2 neighboring areas, one with developer A, one with developer B. Developer A does estimates and will generate X amount of credits. Developer B looks at the same area or the neighboring area and it generates 10 times. So the way we built the degradation factor, how we can bridge the gap between Paris and where we're going, that's limited. And that has to be backed by science. So you can't tweak that. So if you have 2 neighboring properties with the same characteristics, regardless of the developer, they should generate the same credits. So that's, I think, the first issue that you have. The second issue that you have is a lot of the registries are also certifiers and are also developing methodologies. And I think when we started this 5 years ago, but what we came to discuss 3 years ago is how do we build the governance? And when we have governance that has companies developing methodologies, companies issuing, having the projects, having B3 as the registry, and enabling us not to have double counting. So we can't have two projects in the same space. And I think the infrastructure is there. The governance model is built. What we lack in Brazil is a certifying body. That's something that we're also working on, both from the ETS perspective and also in the PTS perspective of the law. And maybe Gabriel can say something about that. But the concern, I think your concern is very valid because of what's happened in the past. Infrastructure is helping us with one. The other one is there's no way to tweak. And I think that's a very big safeguard. We are talking to actors about doing the projects in communities and with smallholders, and there are other challenges such as development costs. That's the stuff that we're working on as we speak.
I trust you all, guys. I'm having.
You know where to find us.
To adopt the policy, yeah, the whole discussion, it's not limited to Mexico.
No.
And I would like to put one very important aspect too is companies like you decide this kind of thing because the problems that happens. And if you verify almost all the problems that happens with carbon credits in nature-based solutions is because the documents of the area, okay? And we not only in the methodology, but the systems that we created here, we pass for a huge verification of all the documents, and this is the main guarantee that we have support to maintain the project with the other aspect of carbon credit, that's permanency. Okay, when you use a methodology that not understand the aspects of Brazil, this aspect could be not so much very well understood. Okay, then we bring for the inside the methodology, inside the registry, the idea to verify all the base of the documents, and with this we give more certainty for the buyer to avoid many of the problems that we have. When you're talking about high credibility credits, this is the first aspect, and it's very interesting. Few people talking about this, but this is the most significant aspect of all the process.
Yeah, one thing that I would like to add is that if you're buying carbon credits and you will take like 3 months to understand the project and have the legal opinions on that, this is something that you're used to do right now. But if you can access a platform and understand the project and the carbon credits that you're looking for in like 10 minutes, this is a good idea. This is a good topic. It doesn't mean that it's too simple or superficial. It means that it is easy and the information is available. So that's what we're doing. We are making easier and simple to understand the project, to see the geospatial data, to understand where this is located. There is a private company that it's very known, that's B3. You have the other companies and you have their numbers, so you can talk to them. So it's easier, it is more transparent, it has more tech-based. So that's why you should buy, it's easier for you and your team.
So there's like one detail that I was discussing with Gina and Janaina, for heads of sustainability, which we're part of my team, amazing team actually. And we were discussing that yesterday. We're not willing to have registry for anyone. It's not like just come and get it and registry in B3. We're choosing our partners very carefully in order to have a very secure market. So it took us a while to decide and thank you for your patience actually, because we had to go through a very hard due diligence in order to have it, because once you've done it, you cannot go back. So it took us a while to decide. So it's not just knocking our door and we're going to do it. So we're establishing, believing the partnership.
At the end of the day, the resources of the credit should be going to the land, to the community, to the landowner. And that's something that we want to make. That's what we're discussing as a model, because we've seen at ECCON we've seen a company that spent more money on due diligence than on land. That's something we need to change.
Concept of greenwashing. Right. Yeah, no, thank you for that. The way I see things, and maybe Alex, our TM for Brazil, it's an ally to all of this. In a position to the way that the global team sees all those kind of operations, not just one specific, but in general. So maybe a way to go forward. I'm very much into it. And we were dinnering yesterday because of that. But there is a path forward to provide all the information the corporate needs for us to keep moving towards something meaningful into a different direction we are going now. And this is something that maybe conversation like this, but also more in-depth analysis, transparency, data. I don't know how much of sharing of that, all of this could actually change the policies we currently have. But before Mexico, I was at Unilever at the same exact position. So I don't feel Brazil is going to be able to have a relevant market if we don't build trust with those companies who could be off-takers like ours, but it's really afraid of.
That's great points.
I just wanted to finish. One thing that I guess that's what David wanted to say, but it's very specific of the project they are developing. There's no dispute in terms of ownership. The title is, so we're not going to be making the headlines of the garden, because the land belongs to them. So there's no dispute. That is key. The underlying asset of many projects in Brazil is bad. I mean, we have to face that. That is good. It's bad for the market. There's an issue about the underlying asset. In this case, there's no issue about the underlying asset. You can claim whatever, specialists can say the volume is too much, we're paying too much, but that's a different angle, right? We're not debating title ownership, how the land was acquired by the group. So, and I think that addresses, in terms of due diligence, that addresses 90% of the issues. And then we stop paying lawyers, because we love to charge a lot in this. You're a lawyer. No, I'm sorry. What's your name? I apologize. We resent the fact that we paid everybody in the middle, and then there's no money left for the project.
Well, guys, I appreciate so much stay here with us. If you'd like to, we have some coffee yet. We can continue our conversation during our coffee. Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Nice to meet you.